right, so let's look at some examples. So we've got a data set here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Okay. To find the mean, we're going to add all the numbers up. So I've got 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5. Well, all together, that adds up to 19. Right? So first step, add all the numbers together, get your sum. All right. So then I'm going to take and divide that sum of 19 by however many pieces of data I added up. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of data. And I'm going to put this in my calculator or do long division, which is okay if you don't remember how to do that. But 19 divided by 5 actually gives me a decimal. It's about 3.8. And this kind of makes sense if we think about it like a balance point. Kind of the middle of this set of data would be around this 4 right here. But you see how technically this side is kind of heavier than this side. This adds up to 5. This adds up to 10, which means it's going to be kind of scooching it a little bit further this way. So I just realized I got a glare right there. So 3.8 is what I got when I divided. So I want you to take a moment. I want you to pause this. I want you to try this one. You can use a calculator. And then I want you to unpause to check it. So your first step should be to add all of your values together. So if I add all of these together, when I added, I got 72. Then I'm going to take that sum of 72 and divide by how many pieces of data there were. So I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. So I'm going to divide by 6. And that gives me 12. So let's say this was like the number of, I don't know, cookies that somebody got. You know, this person got 5, this one got 8, 20, 15, 22, and 2. On average, they got about 12 cookies. All right, so let's take a look at the back here. Now, again, the mean is a measure of center, or central tendency. It is not the only one, though. There are actually 2 others that we're going to discuss. The next one is the median. So I want you to think about like when you're driving down the road, sometimes you'll see like a concrete piece in the middle of the road that separates one lane from another. That's called a median because it's in the middle of the road. Okay, so the median is to find the middle. So to find the middle, your data has to be in order from least, meaning smallest, to greatest, meaning the biggest. Then we're literally going to count to the middle. Now, sometimes there's not just one number in the middle, meaning you have like a tie, okay? Because if you have an even number of data points, you may have a tie. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the average of the 2. So what that means is you're going to add them together, and then you're going to divide it by 2, because there would be 2 pieces of data. So you're finding the mean of those 2 pieces. So if we were to look at this question right here about the Girl Scout cookies, so it's talking about the number of broken Girl Scout cookies in 9 boxes of cookies. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put my data in order from least to greatest. So I see I've got 0, and I like to kind of underline them so I can keep track of what I've used, because otherwise you may get confused or you might accidentally miss one. So then it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 2 2s. And I have a 3. And again, I like to just kind of check them off so I can look now and I can see I used all of my numbers. So then I'm just going to count to the middle. So there's a couple ways you could do this. One way is to kind of like take 1 from each side. Those kind of pair up, right? And then I keep working my way to the middle until I get to the very center value. So if you notice, I got 4 underlined on this side, 4 underlined on that side, and I have 1 in the middle. So my median in this case would be 1. The other way to do it is if you look total here, I have 9 pieces of information. It's an odd number, which means I'm going to have 1 exactly in the middle. Well, half of 9 is about 4.5. Okay, it's exactly 4.5. So that means it's 4 and then some. That would be where the middle is. So it just depends on how good you are with your mental math on that. So for example, on this one, I am going to put it in order first. So when I do that, I need to make sure that I account for all my data. So it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. It looks like I have 1, 2 ones. I have a 1.5 here. I have 2 2s. I have a 3, a 3.5, a 6, and an 8. And again, I'm just making sure I used all my information, because it is easy to miss one sometimes. That's also why we usually do this in pencil. I'm doing it in pen so it shows up on the video well. So then I'm going to work my way to the middle. But the thing is, if you look, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pieces of data, which means I'm going to have a tie because it's an even number of data points. So I'm going to work my way to the middle. Again, just matching up one from one side with one from the other, just working slowly to the middle. And what's going to happen is I'm going to end up with these two right here tying for the middle. So I've got 6 on this side right here, and I've got 6 on this side right here, and I have 2 in the middle tied for that center spot. So I'm going to find the average of these two. So I'm going to add 1 and 1.5, and then I'm going to end up dividing it by 2 because there are 2 pieces of information. So it's 2.5 divided by 2, which gives me 1.25. So that means the actual middle is actually right in between these two. All right, so again, if you have an odd number of pieces of information, you'll have exactly one number in the middle. If you have an even, that means you're going to have a tie and have to find the average, which will be halfway between these two values. All right, so I want you to pause for a second. I want you to try this one and then unpause and check your answer. So the first thing to do is to find the mean. So remember, there are 2 steps. The first thing is to find the sum. So the sum is when we're going to add up all of our data points. So we have 35 plus 33 plus 33 plus 32 plus 30, which when I added all of that together, I got 163. But remember, there's another step. So I'm going to take that sum and I'm going to divide it by how many pieces of information there are. So there are 5 numbers I just added. So I'm going to divide it by 5. Now I'm going to get a decimal, and that's okay. So what this means, okay, is these are the number of laps that these kids on the walkathon accomplished, okay, for the top 5 finishers. It means on average they did about 32, almost 33 laps. That's what that says. And if you look, your numbers are pretty close to that. So that does seem reasonable. So on average, they did about 32.6 laps. So then the other piece is to find the median, which remember is the middle. So I have to put my data in order first. So I have 30, 32, 33, 33 again, and 35. Now since I have an odd number of data points, I'm going to have 1 in the middle. So if I work my way to the middle, I'm going to find I have 33 in the middle with 2 on each side of it. So my median is 33. So if you think about it, are these two numbers pretty close to each other? So if I had $32.60 versus $33, that's really close to each other, right? So they're very close. So what that tells us, okay, it tells us our data is very consistent. Which means it doesn't vary a lot. So varying means how much variety it has, how many different things there are. These are fairly close to each other, so we don't have a whole lot of variety compared to what we could. All right, so both the mean and the median are measures of central tendency or measures of center. One tells me the average, the other one tells me the middle. And they're actually very similar in a lot of ways, okay? But again, the mean is the average, median is the middle. All right? Now there is technically one more. It is not used as often, to be honest though, and it is the mode. Okay, so the mode tells us which one happens the most. So if you have a whole lot of one number, so for example, if we did really good on an assignment, I might have a mode of 100, meaning majority of the people who took that assignment got 100. That's excellent. That's what I want to see. But that doesn't always happen. All right, so we've got our Girl Scout cookie data again. This is again the number of broken boxes, broken cookies in each of the 9 boxes. So to find the mode, we just need to figure out how many of each number we have. So if you look, I have 2 zeros, I have 4 ones, 2 twos, and a 3. So the one that happened the most was 1. So our mode is 1, and the reason is because it occurs 4 times. So because it happens the most, it is the mode. Now again, we don't use that one as much at the moment. This is really good if you see one number that is significantly happening more than the others. So the last piece of information we do statistics with a lot of times is the range. It is not a measure of center, but it explains how spread out things are. So it's not a measure of center, it is a measure of what we call variability. And I want you to look at this word, variability. It's the ability for something to vary or give variety. Okay, so if you have a really big range, that means it's varying a lot. If the range is pretty small, that means that it's not varying very much. So to do this is actually a lot easier than it looks. So we have our whole data set here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the lowest number. So the lowest number in the entire set is 0. And I'm going to find the highest number, which in this case is 8. Again, I just look through and make sure those are my lowest and my highest. And then I'm just going to subtract. It's going to be my highest minus my lowest, and that's going to give me 8. What that means is that these numbers are spread out 8 apart. So from the lowest to the highest, it has a range, it's a spread of 8. So for example, if we were talking about grades, okay, if the lowest grade in a class was a 70, and the highest was 100, that means they'd have a range of 30 points between the lowest person and the highest. That's what we're talking about here. So when we're talking about range, it's how far apart the lowest and highest are from each other.